We have a quorum. Let's raise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's your preference with the consent agenda?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it. Those in favor? Next select board meeting will be May 1st at 5:30 p.m. at Town Hall. Old business, discussion of the boundary line with West Bath and the town attorneys are in discussion.
I emailed this week for an update and have not heard from anybody.
That's frustrating.
Mr. Hennessy.
I am becoming much more concerned. While we are waiting for attorneys to talk, I do believe Bath is proceeding to follow right along, pick their boundary as the town line. I expect if they would do what I would do, they will slide it up to the legislature, there will be a bill passed, and it will be over. And West Bath will move 2 miles of boundary, some 50 feet. I don't think anybody has more of a grasp of the facts, aside from the legal question. I would like the opportunity to have a workshop with the select board and look at the facts on the ground. I would also like to thank both of you for taking the time to speak to me individually and not in a great deal of depth, but I do appreciate that. I appreciate that both boards have tried to resolve an 1844 problem that was neglected. It's closer to 200 years than it is to 150 now, but it's time to get it done.
And what do you feel is going to be the most equitable way to resolve this?
Straight to arbitration. I don't think that the board should be quietly moving a boundary by simply waiting for the attorneys to talk, because I think you will get end run. And when it comes to politics, I do believe Bath will carry the weight over West Bath. There's other things in the background. I recognize that there will be future difficulties with 2 different industrial parks and a bunch of hits. But I do think the select board has the right and the duty to find out where the line was. And I do think that arbitration with 2852 is the way to go.
So I'm not opposed to having a workshop. How do you feel about
I'm
that?
not either.
How soon could a bill get introduced in the legislature?
I-
Next session, I'm assuming? Or is it a full?
I expect that it'll get dropped in as an emergency bill right at the ending and be presented as this no conflict, and here is the survey that Bruce is now working on to put GPS coordinates on it, which is based upon his drawing that he provided to Christine in a draft form a year and a half ago, and Christine did not pass on to the board. Have you seen that drawing?
I have not.
No.
My understanding that it wasn't completed when the attorney went to the initial meeting, the surveyor no-showed at the meeting. So I'm not sure where that drawing is at this point.
Bruce sent it to Christine in April of
A year ago.
March? Yeah, yeah. It essentially, over time, Bath has actually moved a little farther to the west, and he has, Bruce's position is that the sensible way to take care of it is to have the legislature decide, and he drew it on Bath's line.
Well, since we paid 50% in that survey, we may want to disagree with that. We, it's, so I
I'd
guess.
like to see a copy of what we paid.
Well, we got a couple things here. First, how soon should we hold a workshop? How soon do you feel it imminent?
I strictly gut feeling, if I was Bath, I would spring it as the legislature gets nuts.
They already are
So
now.
5 years ago?
It's a lot of bills coming in.
They can, I expect that they want Bruce to finish the GPS. I'm
So-
not sure that he's not doing that. It's not hard, it would take about 20 minutes.
So if we're waiting for an uncontested application, perhaps we contest it in advance and say, there is a dispute. Share it with our representatives and tell them that we have a dispute, that we should do that effective tomorrow in an email. Have it duly noted so that they can't say it wasn't contested at the time.
And
And,
just Senator Suzanne,
yeah,
since she
to
covers
all of
both,
our representatives.
rather than Representative Senator.
All of our, like, I don't mean the representative, but our collective representatives, as far as we want to take that. If that could go out tomorrow, and let them know that there is a boundary line dispute, and we're trying to find a suitable solution to it, to please ensure that no decisions are put forth until that happens. That will certainly protect us publicly and put our stake of FOIA in the ground from that path forward. It'll buy us some time. That's plan A.
The 2852 is simply requires notifying the Superior Court that there is a dispute. And then we sit back and wait for another 2 or 3 years for.
But at least it pauses any
Absolutely.
path forward that we're unaware
I
of.
would greatly and vehemently appreciate that step.
So as far as a workshop, once we get that, I would like to get through the town meeting before we host a workshop. I think Julie would appreciate that as well.
If you do that, I'll keep quiet for a while, and that will be a relief to you.
Does it work like that at home?
Oh, God, I was in favor there.
Brief observation, when you do the workshop, having served on the planning board and chaired the appeals board during the development of the Wing Farm subdivision, clearly remembering the cost, the legal involvement, the time spent establishing the Wing Farm subdivision and the full revision to our zoning. When you do the workshop, I respectfully suggest at least have your records of the development and the final sign-off of the Wing Farm subdivision available for your full review and understanding during that workshop. Wing Farm was not a momentary thought. Volunteer and paid hours for legal surveys, extensive. Thank you for letting me mention that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I said I'd be quiet for a while.
There's gentleman behind, actually, I'm looking past you.
You usually do.
Steve Winter, just to make sure that the appropriate people are contacted, you also mentioned Superior Court.
Yes, and
Do they need to be contacted and how?
They will not accept anything from the select board, they will only accept it from the town, the town's legal representation. Because I tried to get that through without that years ago. But that's-
So can you ask Kristen to start writing up the paperwork for 2852, but certainly send an email out to all of the above stating our concern and dispute at hand.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Okay, next item for old business is ARPA funds. The front door is going to be installed on I should say, the front door is installed on the 21st and all push, what do they call them? The ADA openings will also be
Yeah,
done here and here. And I believe the fire department's already been done, is that correct?
correct. And the generator, we don't have a date, but it's a go.
So do we have ARPA funds on here?
It's on, under old business.
Well, I didn't, just talk about, I'm gonna go through all of it, not just the door. That's what I was kinda asking. So as of now, under the ARPA funds, we have $203,440.89 allocated to West Bath. $113,812 were allocated to air packs, $17,700 to the electric sign, $8,400 to windows, $5,076 to fire department shutters, $18,740 for heat pumps, which also included a $14,000 grant. The carpet was $6,505, which left a remaining balance of $170,233. As of, adds up to that, the balance is $33,216.89, which we had available to us at the end of December. This year, we've allocated $9,320 for the fire department for the ADA doors, $11,600 to town hall for the ADA doors and new door, a generator for $11,100, and the installation, I believe, of the propane tanks, is that correct? For $1,400, totaling $33,420 with a shortfall of $203.11. So I'd like to make a motion we approve that shortfall, Keith, if that suits you.
I will second that.
All in favor? New business. Award the lawn mowing contract, of which we have a singular bid.
Single bid from Jorgensen Landscaping, year one total, actually all 3 years, $6,200 for a 3-year total of $18,600.
No escalation, flat fee?
Flat fee. $2,000 for the town office, $1150 for the fire station, $450 for the Bull Rock boat landing, $450 for Littlefield School, $450 for West Bath Meeting House, $320 for Berry's Mill Cemetery 1, $230 for the remaining cemeteries.
I suggest we accept it.
I second that.
Is that piling up? All in favor? Is the original in here, or you want to sign it?
That's the
I
original.
see another folder there. Next item for new business is meet with the budget committee for town meeting recommendations. Mr. Hennessy?
There weren't many changes financially. We changed the COLA cost of living to 5%. Increase the clerk's base pay to 55,354. Codes, 56,857. Increase the mapping from 5,000 to 7,500. In the audit, from 13,000 to 26,000, based on there will actually be 2 audits being done in 2 years. Other than that, the school is not going to do the roof this year. They're going to wait 1 more year on the roof. It was looked at by the companies that had it for years, repairing it, and said it's good for 1 more year. The county tax, as of tonight, I'm hoping it's going to be just an increase of 10% and not 15%. That's what it looks like. It was also noted the patent-free library in their request. We had 2 votes on that. The first vote was to not, the budget committee not to recommend it be funded, and that ended up in a tie, so it failed. The second vote was to have no recommendation, and that passed. So the budget committee is making no recommendation on the library funding. And that's it.
So when do you think we'll find out about the county tax of the 10?
We will know hopefully next Tuesday night. That's when the commission will decide on their final numbers.
So Julie, based upon what we have here, what's that gonna do to our estimate of,
Mill rate,
yes,
I used the school county as presented in the warrant, in the, town as presented, the county, what they
initially asked for?
initially asked for, and that with last year's valuations, that would be at 870 mill rate, 50-cent increase in the mill rate.
So we're at 83 last year? No, 82.
82.
82. I'm sorry, yep.
Does that take into account any new valuation you picked up? As far as housing,
No,
so that 50 cents may not be,
correct.
if you get some new houses or whatever, for new valuation.
Yes, they have a lot of building permits to do the pickup work.
Dave, just a question on the audit. Is the 1326, however you want to look at it, including town and school?
No, this is just the
Just the
town.
town portion? Okay.
Just
Just want to make sure we weren't double
No,
counting, next I know the school portion is in their budget.
Is our audit done for this year?
The towns is, we're waiting on the school.
Right.
It's been started, we had to wait until after April 15th.
What, tax rate?
Just to clarify, we're waiting on the auditors to finish the school portion.
Yes,
Not waiting on the school.
and
Thank you.
I begged, and we are hoping to get them all caught up.
So should we be voting on each item in the warrant?
It's up to you.
That's how we've done it in the past.
Okay. And I know the warrant looks different than it did last year, but after being at town meeting, I know a lot of people requested to be like it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So all the housekeeping is 2 through 15.
Did we make a recommendation on the housekeeping stuff?
It's just run together as one, is it not?
Are there extra copies of the warrant?
Yeah.
No, we can make
Okay,
them.
some, 1, 2, how many?
How many people want them? Put your hand up, please. 1, 2, 2.
Why don't they do it up?
Can you use that new copier? choose a moderator to reside at said meeting. Do we select that individual now? Have we asked
No.
anyone?
At town, same as last year,
Yep, okay,
he would love to,
that's right, kind of where I was going on that.
yes.
Okay, Article, was it 2 through 7, civic housekeeping?
2 to 50.
2 through 15. I move that we accept Articles 2 through 15 as a collective for housekeeping items.
Second that.
Kristen has gone over this.
Yeah, okay. All in favor? Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $315,857 for wages and stipend. Last year, is that what that is, LY? Let me make sure that's- Last year was $315,506. I move we accept Article 16 as presented.
I'll second it.
In favor? Article 17, to see the town will vote to raise and appropriate $180,878 for insurance and benefits. Last year was $180,096. Why did that go down?
There's one less full person insurance,
Gotcha, understood.
but it also,
And some salaries reduced also.
yes,
Oh,
but we also have,
nothing from
Oh, sorry, wait, yeah.
yeah, it's not much because of Family Medical Leave Act.
Oh, yes, yep. I move we accept Article 17 as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $186,185 for town administrative expenses. Last year was $184,300.
I'll move we accept.
Second?
Can I bring up, when we did the budget, this is the lawn mowing in here. I budgeted for 6,000, so you're gonna be $200 short. You can change it now or do it from selectmen's contingency.
Let's do it now. Then, is it under building maintenance?
Yes,
So it should be
13.
I move that we amend Article 18 to reflect the $200 increase in lawn maintenance.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Article 19, to see if the town will vote to appropriate all dog licensing fees and penalties collected during the fiscal year of 25-26, with the exception of the recording fee that must be retained by the municipal clerk pursuant to state law as additional payment to the animal control officer for services rendered to the town. Just
Motion to approve as presented.
second. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 for legal fees. It is the same price as last year.
Motion we approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? To see if the town will vote, Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $2,000 for general assistance. Last year was the same $2,000.
Move we approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Public Works Department. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $859,000 for Public Works. Last year was $1,113,260.
Make motion we approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $16,600 for sanitation. It is the same fee as last year.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Fire Department, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $339,922 for protection. Last year was $216,210 plus $60,980, totaling $277,190 per diem is included in this article.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Article 25, to see if the town will vote to transfer all remaining budget but unexpected funds at the end of fiscal year 2024-2025 from fire department operations to fire department capital fund for future capital building, vehicle, and/or equipment expenditures.
Make a motion we approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Community agencies and organizations. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following as donations to community agencies. Bath Senior Citizen, $950 for 25-26. Last year was $950. Bath Area Food Bank, $2,000, the same as last year. Spectrum Generations, $1,915, the same as last year. Sweetser, $2,292, the same as last year. New Hope for Women, $820 versus $744 from last year.
Make a motion we approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Article 27, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $44,517 as payment to the Patent Free Library. Last year was $41,332. The Budget Committee does not make a recommendation.
Make a motion we approve as presented. Note the absence of a second.
There's no second. Yep.
Is this an opportunity for any additional questions or just comments? Just Anthony Jamison is here as treasurer, so we were looking for support from all the select board. I think, I have a number, I've been a long supporter of the Patent Free Library, and I think there's a lot of support in the town and connections with the library. I think when Leslie, the director, made the presentation at the Budget Advisory Committee, I think one of the things, I just want to go ahead and make the appropriate thank yous. I think we've appreciated the support from the town in past years, and I've appreciated the participation from West Bath as a community. The per capita rate it's low. Certainly it's asking for an increase, but it's very low compared to surrounding libraries. We don't have a library in this town, so I think it's important to have affiliation with a particular library to show that town support. Some of the discussion revolved around the number of card holders, and our population is 1,910 as of the last census, and there are 523 card holders. There's a strong connection with the history room at the library, and participation with the town history series, where there's a presentation about a pertinent West Bath history component. I think there have been discussion in the past that there's a large endowment, but the fact that there's draw on that endowment has allowed municipal funding and participation to be as low as it is. So if there are any additional questions, I think, because there's the fact that the Budget Committee did not give it a full thumbs up, I thought this would be an opportunity to answer any questions.
I have a couple. Do you have any, Keith?
Go ahead.
So with an $8 million endowment, I think there's opportunity to, in times of economic uncertainty, support the community without perhaps raising any of the fees, for starters. I was not at the meeting, unfortunately. I was traveling for work, would love to have been there, but it was my understanding that we were told that the towns aren't doing enough, and I think we're doing more than enough from that perspective. I find that to be almost ungracious, to be frankly honest. And I actually called the American Library Association in Chicago to get some clarification on cardholders. Because I've been asking for years to get a true determination of the cardholder, and I was told that that's private information. And we keep getting a 2-year number. And I actually have the recording, if you'd like to hear it, from Chicago and the American Library Association stating that indeed we can receive that information as to who the cardholders are in our community that are participating, and actually how many of those cards took out a book. You can't tell me how many books they took out, but every cardholder, every card that has taken a book out versus every cardholder are two different things, and I'd love to see that number. Because I want to make sure that and I'm in theory not for or against, but I feel like we're not getting the information that we're asking, so I've done some of my own homework. And to get the full support, I think we need the full transparency of what West Bath is receiving, and I don't think we've had that yet.
A lot of these things aren't really measurable in terms of who goes to special events.
I didn't talk about special events, we don't measure that.
Yeah, right, but that's an important part of
Right.
the equation, whether you measure it or not.
But there's people that don't have cards are also welcome at those said special events without holding a card. So that to me is a community benefit that
Yes,
goes beyond our
it
payment.
is a community benefit, and I think
But-
that's an important aspect
But
of it.
people aren't paying for that said benefit, and I don't know if I necessarily want to fund another town's participation.
I'm just gonna make a statement. The increase that is being asked for this year is $1.67 per person. So for a family of 4, it's less than a 6-pack of beer. And so, you know, if you look at what the per capita community asked for the patent-free library, and I granted, free is a little bit of a misnomer here, but it's about 1/3 of the surrounding libraries. So it's actually a very good deal. I mean, and the reason that it's a good deal is because of the endowment. And the way endowments are supposed to be used, as you probably all know, is you're supposed to use about 5% of an endowment for operating expenses. That way, the endowment lasts in perpetuity. So future generations will be able to also share this good deal that we're actually getting for the library. So the idea of spending down endowments, rating the endowments, is a bad idea because it robs essentially from future generations. And this is what happens with pension funds, when pension funds are misused, and then all of a sudden the community finds that they can no longer, fund pensions. So if we take money out of the endowment above the 5%, and continue to do it, the endowment will not be available for future generations, and then all of a sudden, 10 years from now, the costs are going to go way up for the yearly cost per capita. So the idea of taking more than 5% out of the endowment, I think, is short-sighted and not in the best interest of our children, actually.
So it's, so with of the 533 said cardholders, which I don't understand why you keep giving it to me over 2 years, and why can't I get it annually? I feel like it's almost like a smoke and mirrors kind of game. If I take, and is the rate $85 for an out-of-state, out-of-town person?
It just went up. Yeah.
Beyond 85, or went from 60 to 85?
No, I think 85.
60 to 85.
So the current rate is $85. So if I take said $85 and multiply it by my 533 potential cardholders, presuming every one of those actually is a cardholder and using the card, it's $47,005 a year. And I have a hard time believing that 1 in 4 people in the town are actively using a library card, to be honest with you, because I can't seem to get the numbers every time I've asked for it.
The one thing is, the cards do get purged. I spoke with Leslie earlier, she couldn't be here, but they purge for inactivity, and it's, I don't think I'm not sure if it's like every 1 to 2 years, but it's recent activity.
But it's every, I hear it's every, you've been told every time it's every 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't want a 2-year total, I want a 1-year total.
I honestly think it's every year.
I think it might be every year, not.
I know I had to just renew mine, and I'm the treasurer, so I'm pretty sure that it's every year.
It's
Well,
every year, mine gets purged every year.
I'm going to speak out against this idea of à la carte funding of municipal services.
That was gonna be my question. What percentage of your total budget is from municipal contributions this year?
It's 40%.
And, you know, I feel like this has been an ongoing conversation in this community, and I feel like every year this conversation comes up and the citizens overwhelmingly support the library at town meeting. We questioned a lot of this stuff not too long ago. We hired a special committee that investigated it. I think you were maybe on that committee. And I believe that committee came back with a recommendation that this was the best financial opportunity for the town. And even after that, we continue to overwhelmingly support the library at town. Personally, I think not supporting public libraries is a travesty. And I will make a motion that we include Article 27 absent recommendation of the Board of Selectmen. Let the townspeople decide if they want to continue to support the library.
Can't do it.
You can't give the people the right to.
No, because I've asked for the information every year and I can't seem to get it. And I've been given the honest information for years that I've been asking for, I can move forward with it.
So you're basing your vote based on your personal feelings on this measure?
It's not, you know what, Keith, it's not personal, I'm asking for numbers on behalf of the community. So please, you call me a liar at the last meeting, you're asking me that I'm putting my personal feelings into this meeting, we're not gonna do that. I'm saying that I don't agree with how it's presented, and I'm saying that let the town, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't support it.
When you're coming up for reelection, because you're not supporting the, you're not supporting what, the majority
remains
of people
That's remains.
want.
If you feel like started that, I apologize, that was not my intent, I apologize.
You don't have to go for me, other people will. Dave?
I think the town has, in the last several years, has studied the library at least 3 times and gone through the process. I think the least we can do, Suzanne, this time around, let the town vote. Don't leave it off the warrant. The town should get a chance to vote on this at our town meeting. Let us vote on it.
I'm not gonna do it, Dave, I'm sorry.
I will make a third motion that Article 27 remain on the warrant with the select board voting to oppose the funding.
I won't vote for that either.
So what's this, I'm not sure I'm even understanding what's happening here. What does this mean?
It means this isn't gonna be up for the vote at town. I don't know what the alternative process is to raise it. I don't know if this can be raised from the floor. I don't believe it can, but. And
This is a first for me.
yeah.
So we're missing a select board member, so there's no, I mean, how do you, yeah, I guess I'm confused as to the process. How can you just not have it on the warrant?
In order to meet our town meeting target date, does the warrant need to be published?
I can contact Kristen tomorrow to find out what we do. And it has to be posted next week, Tuesday.
I've been given the information I've asked for years, and it's,
You weren't at the social advisory committee.
I wasn't told when the meetings were, to be frankly honest. Question?
Requester of a compromise, if you provide a list of what you would like answered, in the format you would like answered, and they agree to provide that for next year, is that a compromise you would find acceptable? I know you've been waiting, but can you wait one more year?
No, I cannot.
So you're gonna disenfranchise everybody who wants to use the library from West End?
Well, it's, you know, I was not at the meeting, but I heard about the meeting, and we were told that the towns aren't contributing enough. And I asked 2 years ago, we gave $25,000 versus their requested, I think it was $30-something thousand. What would we do as a donation? It's not a donation. A donation is something you give voluntarily. And so, I've been trying to get the full cost. I'm not opposed to a library
I
card.
understand what you've been trying to get and you haven't been successful. I'm asking you, what are you gonna do for all the people who
We
wanna
can
use the
pay for-
library from West Bath?
We can
when
pay
you-
their $85 library card. They can come and apply for a card, and the town will pay for it.
Not without something being on the warrant, but allows us to spend that money.
As someone who was the co-operator for a long time and served 2 terms as a trustee for Patent Free Library, who served on the Internal Finance Committee for Patent Free Library, I do not believe my card has been purged based on what I've been told by the library, and I've not used it since COVID. I know many people in the community, including myself, greatly respect having a library, see a need for a public library, but West Bath also very frequently leans toward Brunswick and Hudson. There are folks in West Bath who lean toward the Taunton Library in Pittsburgh. That has been presented many times over the years, that the article be for funding and that the taxpayers may step forward and request a library card individually for our family at a library of choice within a certain radius, if that's what the SelectBoard wanted to
I'm not
add.
opposed to that idea.
And in fairness, and Suzanne and I do not always see things absolutely in the same focus, but respectfully, I do hear what Suzanne is saying, and what Suzanne is saying is what many people in town have articulated to me as well. Thank you for letting me interject.
So I will actually change the position of that, and I will vote to allocate funds for people to apply for a library card at the library of their choice.
Open-ended.
Open-ended.
I think this is, I'm gonna say them, this choosing a la carte is very destructive for community cohesion. It's the same concept of selectively funding different organizations depending upon your personal preference. We don't have children in the West Bath School or in the school system here, but we gladly pay our taxes because we feel that education is the bedrock of the advancement of society. And the library is actually part of that. The library is part of community education. And I think it's a very slippery slope and a dangerous precedent to selectively fund things that's funded as a community. We fund fire, we fund police, we fund all sorts of town services. This is a town service, education. And we should, together as a community, fund this is our local library. Patent Free Library is really our local library. And, Bath is, Brunswick has got, I mean, I looked at the numbers. They have money coming out the wazoo. Bath really doesn't. And, to not support this library and allow it to wither away, I think is very short-sighted. I'm firmly against the idea of this community not supporting the library.
I'm not supporting it. I just said that we're going to support any library they choose to go to. They may all choose to go there. You know what? We may get 600 people that want to pay $85 and you make more money, which is terrific for you. But you know what? I don't want to sit there and say, you have to do this. There are other options. If you work in Portland, you can go to that library for free. My son went to St. John's and could go to that library. He could go to Curtis Memorial Library. So there are libraries that our community uses outside of West Bath, and I think we should provide them that opportunity to choose whatever library they want.
This went to the vote a few years ago and that was defeated, that concept of having library choice.
Well, times have changed. Even the budget committee downloaded it this year, didn't they?
Well, it was neutral, so.
But I'm just saying, times have changed. So I'm going to change my vote, Keith, and I'm going to turn around and say, I will support funding for a library card request for our community at their choice of library. Does that work for you?
With no cap on total budgeted amount and no cap on per card cost.
It's going to have to be in the community. They're not going to go to like Yale, New Haven.
Sure. Well, I don't know what all the local libraries cost, but I'm guessing the Portland Public Library is
So
significantly
based
more
on this-
expensive than the Baton Rouge.
It's actually free if you work there, believe it or not.
But I live here.
No, I'm just saying, when you're talking about cost, yes, I support that.
Sure.
So based on this, just what's happening right here, West Bath would no longer be a participating municipality. It doesn't go for the voters to make that decision. I'm kind of flabbergasted.
This is the article is the vote. At town meeting.
Right, but you're changing
Well,
it.
we
Okay,
lose
now
our
that
seat
is-
on the board of trustees, we lose our corporators.
Right, I'm trying to understand the process.
That's correct, wait, this is no
Right
longer,
here and now. you're
Article
taking it off the
27.
warrant.
Article 27 is changing to not support just the Patent Free Library, but to support any library that the community chooses to go to.
Can you do that? I don't know, I've never, was just two people and not having the full select board, and it's,
Or,
well, I guess it depends, so what if Keith disagrees?
Then it doesn't get on the warrant at all.
I don't
I
understand.
don't understand the process, I guess I'm
I
very
mean,
confused.
we are making I understand what you're trying to do, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I'm sitting here on the fence going, what am I gonna do? We're rewriting a lot more than just a number on an article
You
with
sure
this
are.
change, and it hasn't been studied, we don't know the legal ramifications for that. Perhaps there are none, and I think it's inappropriate for two people to make that big of a change without going to a public vote.
I don't understand why you wouldn't let it go to a public.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
West Bath has the commitment to step aside from RSU 1 for our elementary school. That took great fortitude and continued effort. Eventually, our youngest chose to stay at Morse. There are families certainly who look to high schools in other communities. Having a library card in a different community is not slight on a family's desire to educate a child. She still would have exceeded her, she would have done well at Colby, had her library card, been at Topsom or Brunswick. That's up to the family. I would suggest that you consider continuing with the philosophy that we are not part of RSU 1. We do not see ourselves to be part of the cookie cutter general location. Many people do not attend the Bath CA, they attend the Brunswick rec. That is the fact of how our community is evolving. You do need a cap. My final statement is I respect the very hard work of the Finance Committee. I don't take the time to attend the meetings. They have said that this number is a cap and their view is workable. Use the number as a cap. Let people decide where to get their library card.
I can go with that, we'd have it on a first come, first served basis up to the $44,517 as presented by the Budget Committee.
I respect what you said. Having spent a decade working for the school board, I think everyone knows how I feel about our school. We spent years withdrawing from RSU 1, and we still made a mistake of $500,000 because we didn't know what we were doing.
I know that.
can I ask Tracy a question? Tracy, does the warrant have to be posted 2 weeks or 10 days before the public hearing? Is it 10 days?
I believe it's 10 days.
I think it's 10 days.
So, it does not have to be posted Tuesday by Friday. So if you wanted to see if you could get a full board, 23rd or 4th, 22, 3,
I will not be here. I will be in Connecticut. I'm leaving on the 22nd, coming back on the 25th.
I'm back on site in here.
25th.
Dave, can I ask you a question? The Budget Advisory Committee voted, the initial motion was not to fund, and that vote resulted in a tie.
Correct.
Was there something discussed that made the committee then vote on it again?
It was similar arguments you've heard, that we weren't getting a breakdown of the yearly card use, how many books were being taken out. And to be honest, one of the first statements was made to us, not an exact quote, but more or less, the towns have not been paying their fair share, and now they have to pay their fair share. And that, in honesty, set the tone off in that manner.
And what was the vote tally when you voted not to recommend?
I believe it was five,
It was 4-2.
four, yes, 4-2, yeah. For no recommendation. And we assume the town meeting will make the decision whether they want to or not.
That was the thinking, that it would go before the town.
As it should.
We're not opposing the library, we're opposing a singular library. And that's really what the purpose is here, to let the community, if they all want to go to Patent Free Library, they can go to Patent Free Library. I'm not opposed to them going to a library.
But we lose our voting rights in these future discussions, because we lose our seat on the board of directors.
How would
Or
the
seats.
administrator, how would you administer this, Suzanne?
Julie?
You would have to pay for your membership and come in to be reimbursed with a receipt.
And if there was a hardship, could we put a check in advance?
So then we also have a list of anyone in town who has a library card and which library card they choose to visit.
What would be the administrative cost, what would be the administrative cost of doing that?
It would be on a warrant that
For sure.
would
It's just
Opportunity costs for sure. It's town staff time to process those reimbursements, our time to review them, sign those warrants, mail those checks, assuming they're not picked up.
Strikes me as cumbersome.
It seems to me, I agree.
Mr. Ritter?
There needs to be a cap of any
We did. We said-
monetary
We
thing.
took the budget recommended cap.
And let me ask another question. What's necessary in the warrant is the monetary cap. At the meeting, can the public amend that item to say that it goes to patent-free library?
I don't know the answer to that. I was thinking the same thing. I don't know the answer to that.
Could we find out?
Yeah, that would be useful.
I think we know what's gonna take place. Take the time and, I don't hate it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not necessarily opposed to your suggestion. I just think there are a lot of details we need to look at and work out before I'd be willing to.
It's giving the community the opportunity to pursue their location.
Yep.
And I think that's a benefit to the community. I think it's, as a taxpayer, we should allow them a choice.
Voted down. When that was offered.
I'm sorry?
It was voted down, it wasn't that long ago that was
I agree.
voted as a straw vote.
I'm sensitive to that. It's been studied. Town overwhelmingly chose to continue in this direction. And again, every time this is on the warrant, it passes.
But at the same time frame, Keith, the budget committee themselves also voted down.
I'm
So it's not just me saying
sensitive.
it's not happening.
Well-
Other people had the same predicament.
I find it very
I would
disturbing.
actually argue they didn't vote it down because the vote was to not fund and that was a tie, therefore that motion failed. Then they came back and said, this is important to us, we want the people of the town to decide. We're not gonna make a recommendation, but we want the people of the town.
The recommendation was based on exactly that the notion, that the town itself would vote on this warrant article. It was not to exclude the article from the warrant.
I find it very disturbing that one select board member is disenfranchising the entire town of their ability to vote on this issue.
I'm actually giving the entire town the opportunity to choose what they want.
No, you're not. No.
You're
Patent-free library
disenfranchising the voters of this town.
with us.
I will speak out of turn. Suzanne is giving me the opportunity to choose where I want to purchase a library card.
That's fair.
So you are not speaking for everyone in the room, nor for everyone in the town.
I'm saying that she's disenfranchising the opportunity for people to vote whether they want to stay with the library. That's what she's disenfranchising, that vote.
And I feel disenfranchised
hold on.
every year.
Let's direct comments to the board, please, not engage in arguments with each other.
That is legitimate, but I equally feel disenfranchised on an annual basis. I know it has been voted down at the Finance Committee to have it open. I do not recall an actual article in a warrant ever being voted down to have it a generalized. I do not recall that. I do not believe it has ever come out of the Finance Committee. And let's stick to some actual facts as well.
The truth of the matter is that the major objection is lack of information and lack of response to prior requests. And that is not upon the town, that is upon the library.
Mr. Winter, you got your hand up?
I would suggest and request that the item be reworded with that cap, and somehow for the public to choose whether they want it as a cap on individual purchase at any library, or if they want it at the patent-free library, and let the town decide which way they want to go.
I don't know that we can have a article that asks two separate questions.
That would have to be,
Maybe
that would have to be,
maybe it's
the-
too
Tried that once.
it would have to be at the
with
general
something.
election as a referendum.
I don't believe you can. And if they could do a three,
Two separate articles. You can add another.
Would you be agreeable to Article 27 being to raise and appropriate 44,517
As a payment towards
as
a
library
library.
contributions? And then
Yes.
add an Article 28, obviously bumping everything else. That would be, I'm not gonna wordsmith it exactly right here, but, reflective of Article 27. Do you want that to be dedicated to the patent-free library or to a library of your individual choice?
I think it should just be open to 44,517 as a payment towards the library.
I'm sorry, what does that mean?
So you aren't comfortable with the
Correct.
warrant that allows people to point us in the right direction?
I think it should state that the town will vote to raise $44,570 as a payment towards library contributions.
And then followed by a second motion, as Keith has described.
You may be 100% correct. I may be wrong on this. It may be that second article gives us a clear vote that à la carte is what people want.
Well, so here's the thing,
Clear vote
it's,
that it's
the
not.
only way I would feel comfortable doing that is a silent vote, not a card vote, where people hold their card up.
You mean a
Yeah,
no
right,
vote?
yep. where people aren't looking at it and staring at who's doing what.
I'm not opposed to it. I agree with you.
On both articles,
I'm sorry,
the secret ballot?
that's fine.
Couldn't it then be one article, A and B, and you're selecting between A and B on the one
I
article?
feel like we got in a bind with an A and B a decade ago when we first tried to
We
figure
did
out what we were gonna do with the
It's
settlement
confusing.
money.
Okay.
We can't,
And it wasn't it, you had to vote on A, and if A got the majority of votes, that's what we were stuck
So
with.
we're gonna allocate 44,517 as a vote. Yay or nay? The next question is, would you like to contribute to a singular library or a library of your choosing?
Yes, I think.
Or you're doing another A-B then. You could have the second one being that.
Well, you're gonna, on your ballot, you're gonna check one. Do you want the singular library or the library of your choosing? The first one is, do you wanna spend
Yeah.
44,000?
Is that allowed in A-B? Check A or B.
I don't think so.
It gets sticky. I would do Article
Yeah.
27 and Article 28.
Yeah.
But that is, Article 27 is to allocate the 44,000. Article 28 is, would you like to spend the $44,000 in a singular library or a library, a personal library selection?
You don't
And you
have to
check
make
the
it
box.
A or B, you could just say, the next article is that contribution is to the patent-free library. If
No.
it's voted
It's
down,
gonna be a
then
singular
you're
library
where
or a
you are.
library of your choice. We're gonna give them choices.
Well, you're doing an A-B, and the question is, if you
That's how
just
it's
do an
gonna
A and they vote it down, you get what you suggest.
It's gonna be solely to a singular library or a library of your choice. There's not gonna be any libraries mentioned. It's gonna be a singular library or a library of your choice.
I think you have to mention that for.
I do too.
Okay, to the patent-free library or a library of your choice.
Okay.
Which is
Well, you asked me
essentially
two
a
questions.
yes, no.
You're picking whether you want it to solely
Yeah,
allocate.
I completely 100% agree with what you're trying to say, and I think we're trying to get to the same spot. I'm just wondering if, from a formatting, if this is appropriate on a warrant.
The question is there ever been an A-B question that worked?
You don't need B if you have the A. If you simply say, shall it be dedicated to patent free? And the answer
If you
is
vote
no,
no, it's implied that it's.
then it's open choice.
But you need to let them know that they could go to any library of their choice. And by saying just, if you want it to go to patent-free, it's either that or nothing, it's not that or nothing. It's you want to go to patent-free or somewhere else. They have options, which is what we're trying to tell them.
I'm speaking of a format requirement. There will be discussion. Everybody there will know what the choices are. what
Are
are
we-
stated.
And I apologize for my ignorance on this, but I know in the school warrant, we're allowed to put explanations. Is that allowed on the
It
municipal
is.
side?
Yes.
Yes.
And so could we say in that Article 28, you want this to be a contribution to the patent-free library with an explanation that says, if it's a no vote, you are entitled to a library of your choice, reimbursement through the town hall.
That sounds reasonable.
Yep, I think so. I'd like to see how it's written.
Yeah,
I
in our.
I think Kristen needs to write
Yeah.
both of these, but
I just want the community to have their choice.
I.
They can go anywhere they want. Mr. Winter.
Also, I agree with what you seem to be aiming at this point, but as a side issue that I raised previously, I would like to see Kristen give a commentary on if it's on the first article, if it says, here's the cap, can it be modified at town meeting to say that goes to patent-free library?
Well, you're negating the second following article then.
Well, I know, but that's a separate question. Can that be done in case you don't do the second question?
I think that we need to have a second question as a choice.
Fine, if that flies.
Are you comfortable with that?
I think so, I just need, can you just walk me through that thought process just a little bit more?
Well,
I guess I'm more confused about the post-vote modification. What are your?
okay, I think the two articles that you're proposing now will work. The explanation's there, so I think that's taken care of. I was just raising a separate issue that if that two-part article does not, two articles does not fly, whether the first article, which gives a cap, that's the important part, is the cap, if that cap can be, not the cap stays, but if the direction of that money can be modified from the floor. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
David Hennessy.
I believe if both articles did not fail, both articles failed to pass, or whatever, you can bring it back to the floor later on. When a vote of more than 2/3 of the vote of the public wants to bring it back to the floor, they can bring it back to the floor.
Yeah, I'll reconsider.
But can it be modified?
I believe it can.
It would be nice to get a reading.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
But if you have that question, there's already an article on there, so
Yes, the way you're proposing it now, I think would work. This is just a backup question. In case it
are you comfortable with how this will be done in two articles, Keith?
I'm much more comfortable than I was where we started, so yes.
So I move that we alter Article 27 to roughly state, after our attorney's input, that the town will raise and appropriate $44,517 as a cap towards a payment to a library of your choosing.
That's not what we discussed.
Or to a library, what is it, how, to a
We
library?
had discussed, raise and appropriate,
Excuse me, we're having a conversation.
raise and appropriate a dollar figure,
Towards a library contribution. Or
or
what?
towards a library contribution.
Okay, yep. You get that, Tracy? So you go ahead and phrase it. I withdraw my,
You're on tape.
We're trying to get. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $44,517 for a library contribution.
I was saying as a cap, or as a cap towards the library contribution.
If that's all you raise and appropriate, you
Yeah.
can't go over.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, I will second that. All in favor? Article 27A should read,
28.
well, there's a 28 on here, I'm just saying instead of
It's
8
gonna
and a
push
half.
everything down.
They just have to push.
Kristen's gonna win this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Something to the
Something,
effect.
would you like to allocate the library contribution to Patent Free Library or to a library of your choice?
No.
Strict
No,
to
it's
patent
just
free
to
library.
patent free, because then you're into the A, B otherwise.
Why can't we have a selection on there? If we
can
can't
do
have
an
that,
explanation.
if we can't, can you see if we can have it, you can check a box on there? And if we cannot, I will go to that, but my first preference is to have a box of the Patent Free Library or a library of your choice. And if that's
Given
not
that
amenable,
clarification, I will second that.
okay. All in favor? Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay,
Now, do you want both articles to be secret ballot?
yes.
Yes.
Kristen, happy Friday.
Okay. That, I heard David, I heard you say it, but I saw it.
What was the box you check off? In the second article, how's it gonna read?
Do you want the library allocation to go to patent-free library, all of it? Or second choice is a library of your choice?
In the majority
I
ways.
think we,
Yeah,
I
As it
think we
should.
need to clarify that that would be an individualized
Individual choice, yes.
reimbursement to a library.
that'll be in the description.
Yes, that would be good.
Well, or, yes, but we're prepared to also, if someone has the financial need to cut a check in advance with the application.
Sure, but I wouldn't want to give the perception, and I don't think you're intending to, but if the option is patent-free library or a library of choice, I wouldn't want someone to think by voting library of choice, it's $44,000 that we're sending to the Brunswick Library.
Or to your individual library of choice.
If we that's gonna be
This is gonna keep you up tonight, Keith.
To your individual library of choice.
With a cap,
The caps,
Yeah.
you can have the cap in the second article as well?
$85.
No, I mean the total, the 44,517, you got a cap.
It's tied to that, it's tied to that. First, the most that we're gonna expend on library is $44,000 collectively.
Is that included in the second article?
That is the second article, that's how the money's gonna be spent in the second article.
The dollar amounts are gonna be mentioned.
Sorry?
The dollar amount of 44,517 will be mentioned in the second article?
No, it's mentioned in the first article.
Oh, I think he's right. You just need to say, will this for you, if the first one passes,
Right?
then the second one should say, if does the 44,000 go to patent-free library or a library of your choice, and you've got.
You can't say, because you're at $44,000, and if it's a library of your choice, you're not giving $44,000 to 4 other libraries. It's either to the patent-free library, and if everyone votes for that, then all of it goes there.
Restricted to
It's
patent-free
restricted,
library.
right, or,
Restricted
because
before.
if you say to 44,000 to, then the next library could be Curtis.
Yes, no,
And then all of that-
okay,
You can't put that on the second.
right.
Mr. Winters,
You also need to put in the cap of something like $85, because I could choose to
that's what I said earlier, there's a cap of $85 per course.
correspond to some legal library at $3,200 for my membership.
I better be good books.
I'm gonna make a motion that we amend the proposed Article 28 to include a cap of $85
Per card.
per card.
Per person?
Per card, per person. You only get per card, one card per person. You can't have 17 cards.
True, but
If you don't word it right,
is a
somebody's gonna
family
think we
card
can't.
a card or 4 people?
I don't know if libraries have family cards.
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I think it's an individual card, per card. I don't think libraries have family
Yeah.
cards.
Right, makes sense. Did you want a second?
Oh, so I will second what did we just say? We said $85 per person per card. $85 maximum
Reimbursement
cap and 1 card per person. I'll second that. Need something more than iced tea in here. Oh, all in favor, sorry. My head's spinning right now. Okay, the real Article 28. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 for planning board stipends, last year was $3,000.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Waterways and harbors, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $7,500 for harbors and waterways. Last year was $11,600.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second, all in favor? Article 30, shall the town of West Bath Marine Resource Conservation Ordinance be amended to remove the following language from sections E, 3B, and E, 4B? Applicants must not hold a shellfish license within another municipality.
This
We're
was,
certain we have them all now?
yes, right, I don't
Those are the
know
other two lines that
if
were,
it was the day we was having the meeting or the day after.
these other two were, yeah.
Those are the-
You had to change those too.
Yeah.
So this is an ordinance we've already amended to strike this very sentence in two places, and when it was reviewed, it was
There
missed.
was two more still in there that we didn't catch.
It was missed by the state. Motion to approve this amendment.
Second, all in favor? Long-Term Capital Improvement Fund, Article 31. See if the town will vote to transfer $50,000 from unassigned fund balance surplus to the Long-Term Capital Improvement Fund reserve account in order to replenish funds that were previously appropriated for capital improvement projects.
I'm gonna make a motion we approve as presented, but I do have a question before we vote.
I'll second that.
I promise it's a clarifying.
I was gonna-
I'm just curious, if we didn't transfer this 50,000, what would the impact be on the
We have someone here to.
Well, eventually, the fund, which was intended to be in perpetuity loan fund for the town,
Sure.
would run out of the ability to do that, which would seriously enhance finance costs for any financings in the municipal bond market,
Yeah.
fees, and also you would not be getting the interest that the fund presently produces, which is $33,000 this year.
And if we need another tan, this is the fund that we would go to get it from.
Sorry, I should have asked the question differently, though I appreciate the answer. In terms of dollars, what's 0.5 mils?
Half a mil is probably $200,000.
You think that's so,
A
half a
ballpark,
mil
give or
is
take.
125?
A half
No,
a
no,
mil,
half a mil is 200.
A half a mil is 200?
253.
Three. Oh, yeah,
So I guess what I'm saying is,
So this is like-
this is $50,000.
Like less-
Essentially, we're moving into a savings
It's
account,
1/6 of a
which
mil.
does have a slight impact on our mill rate.
It's 1/6 of a mil.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I was trying to.
Is that what you're trying-
I
is that
wasn't
what
trying to
you're
pull
going
any trigger.
So as, no additions or changes as presented?
Just trying to clarify my,
Okay, guys.
you go one way.
I just want to make a comment. I serve on the investment committee for the long-term capital fund with Paul. And last year, we had a motion to not contribute 50,000 because we knew the impact of the reval was going to be painful for a lot of people. This year, we haven't really, as a committee, met to decide if we wanted to forego it again. But I'm going to say, as a point of information, that the school is looking at the roof next summer. And that's over $300,000. And I don't think we should be diminishing this fund. And this fund is where that money's probably gonna come from to do the school roof. And I'm a member of the school board, so I'm.
Agree 100%. My intent was not to suggest that we not do this investment. I was just trying to, we're putting $50,000 into a savings account, and at the end of the day, that has some impact on our mill rate. So as we're discussing why did my taxes go up, we need to also point out, we also put $50,000 into a savings account, which is gonna help us down the road, and we need to do some capital.
Well, it does
Don't,
provide,
a huge fan of the investment fund, don't misconstrue.
again, it does provide the ability to do the TAN
Exactly.
if we need one internally.
So, just while we're on this, just for additional information, so we talked earlier about, what was it, a 5% savings from the county? David, was it 5%?
Yes.
Maybe,
And potentially seeing a 5% savings?
from 15 down to 10.
Yes.
So that's roughly $52,000. I just, our county amount last year was $925,588. If we go by 10 instead of 15, we save $50,000 in that allocation, which will bring our mill rate down instead of being 8.5, maybe back to, or 8.8 down somewhere. Here,
Again,
yep.
completely support what we're trying to do, I just wanted to get my head around the fact that it's good to save money for the rainy day as well.
That was Article,
It was 31.
31,
We have a motion
yep.
and a second, but we didn't vote it.
all in favor? Okay,
Don't
Art-
count potential until it counts.
yes. Well, there's two potentials on here, but yes. To see if the town will vote to, I'm sorry, Article 32. To see if the town will vote to give all money received from the state of Maine for snowmobile registrations to the Over the Hill ATV Club.
Take a motion, we approve as presented.
Second, all in favor?
I have a question. I noticed that typically the Public Works, we do the same exact thing as we did with the fire department, with the balance, transfer any unexpended balance to capital
That was
account.
not on here, was it?
No, it was not.
That is Article,
Can we add that as to Article 24?
yeah.
Everything's moving today.
So, that was out of the fire department, right? Where the
Article
language?
25.
I move that we replicate the language from Article 25 for the capital fund to Article 24 for public works.
I'll second that.
Hold on.
Boy, they're putting the door in on Monday.
Okay, do we second that? All in favor?
I second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Article 33. And these all housekeeping.
We don't typically
We
take
don't do it,
action
yeah.
on
Yeah.
full article ones, warrant articles.
I'll go to school.
So I guess procedurally, does it make sense to table until we get the final language from the lawyer on those two draft articles?
Yes, because we're gonna, yes,
Do you want to
table for
or
signature, not,
approve with amendments?
from the attorney? Oh, yes,
Because you'll have to have another meeting.
yep, okay, no. I move that we approve the warrant as presented with the amendments from our town attorney. And adding in the additional language for capital.
Just logistics,
Mhm.
will we, forming your motion that way, does it give us the opportunity to sit down and look at the
The
drafts of those
Yes.
particular
Yes.
edits before we?
Yes. Sign it, before we
Yes.
sign it.
And that way you could come in individually and
And sign
sign
it.
it, if it has a question.
But if we don't agree on the edits, we would have to meet again.
Correct.
Or at least have her redo the edits and come back again.
Well, no one of us could. I can't come in and say, I don't like those edits, it's gonna go back to the lawyer, the board would have.
Oh,
You know,
understood, yeah.
you
Yep.
and Kathy would have the opportunity to,
Well, we've given the language how we want it, she just has to make it legal.
but what if we look at it and the legal way doesn't allow us to do what we want? I'm just trying to make sure we're
Correct.
all on the same page. It was a well-negotiated resolution, and I would hate for the sake of expediency, for you or me not to be on the same page.
We'd have to have another meeting, it has to be.
So if Kathy could meet next Thursday, we could get Suzanne's input. I can get your
And you can
input,
send them to me, I'm just not in the state to read them.
Correct. and then you guys could sign the final warrant.
If you're comfortable with that, reviewing it and sending your email
I can-
to Julie,
yep,
and
you
she
can-
can share with us any concerns you have, or?
I'm not, yeah, you can send it to me, I'm just out of
Okay.
state.
Given all that clarification, thank you, I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Are we using the county tax as presented in the proposed budget, not the actual final number of what was proposed originally? For the
Yes.
county tax?
Yes. I just tabulated what the difference would be.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we still use the
No,
original
no, no,
number.
I didn't change that.
Do you have a sense when we'll know what the pickup valuation is from those permits they're still working on?
I do not.
Fair enough.
After mud season,
Yeah.
whatever that might be.
Well, are we still posting the roads?
They are today.
Yes.
They pulled them down today?
They are posted today,
Oh, okay.
as of today.
Will they ever actually physically post it?
They have the orange sign
But
up.
they found out.
There is no orange sign on Sanford Crossing.
When they get wet, they fall down.
There has been
Well,
no
that's-
orange sign on Sanford
Okay,
Crossing.
I'll ask them
I'm happy to hang it up on the way by, but it literally hangs on the telephone post at the end of my driveway and it has not.
Apparently the town didn't care about that road.
I mean,
Do we know when, are there an expectation when they're coming down? Since-
that. He mentioned maybe possibly end of the week, so
Okay.
good possibility tomorrow.
Do you want to put it up for a day?
no need to break next door for a sign that's frequently ignored.
Oh, that, you know what, that's one of the things he wanted us to talk about, was putting in a road ordinance so that it would be enforceable. Okay, sorry.
We have this
I thought I was done with the meeting, my head's telling me. Okay. Under new business, item 3, consider accepting Kathy Valley's registration and how to proceed from the select board.
That was effective June 30.
Correct.
I will make a motion that we accept Capital Valley's resignation for Board of Selectmen seat, or Select Board seat, as of June 30, 2025 with regret.
I will double that regret consideration as well, and second it. All in favor? But that's, we also have the how to proceed. piece on
Correct.
We gotta accept it before we
Yes.
then decide on how.
You have,
that. Oh, is that what that is? Where did I put that?
I know it
Oh,
was,
here it is.
I was asked if it could be voted at open town meeting, and it cannot, because that's not how we do it.
Okay,
We would have to hold a special election, and we can do it with shortening period, is that what they call it? Special shortening period. And Tracy's come up with a timeline for the nomination papers and absentee ballots and an election. And we do not have to hold an election from 7 AM to 8 PM. We only have to hold state and federal from 8 to 8.
okay.
How would we, and I completely understand, it's probably not gonna be a huge turnout, I understand why we want to shorten those hours, but how would we educate citizens so that they know, you know, I'm in the habit of voting at 8 AM every election, how are we gonna get that worked out?
Or be posted.
And so we have electronic.
Posted
sign.
on the
Email
sign.
blast.
Posted in the paper, posted on the sign, posted in the email, the weekly email.
David?
Is this for a 6-month period or a year and a half?
Year and a half to end the term.
Okay?
So I will go ahead and make a motion that we hold a special election on June 17th, polls being open from 2 PM to 7 PM. That would require that nomination papers become available on April 25th. Deadline for submitting those would be May 30. Absentee ballots be available starting May 16th.
I will second that. All in favor? You're getting all kinds of election experience, Tracy, in your first year. Oops, sorry.
Will there be a candidates night?
Will there be a candidate?
That too.
We could hold that before a selectmen's meeting.
Okay.
That'd be our first June meeting.
Yep, June 5th, we can have that.